This is Dish About the Dish, where the foods we eat tell the stories of our lives. Joining me today is debut author Jenny Hartwell. So let's go. Hello, Jenny. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Emma, thank you. I was really honored to be invited to join you on your show. So thank you.
Because there's so many things not so many things, but I do have lots of things I wanted to ask you. But the first thing I have to ask is, what is your most memorable meal?
So ever since you invited me to come on your show, I have been racked, tortured, trying to pick one. This is really an impossible question. Mm-hmm. So late last night, I was typing out all the memorable meals I've had. I finally decided, at midnight, that I was going to cheat a little and talk about a series of meals I had, if that's okay. So I went to Italy, mm-hmm. and I ate amazing food when I was there. I had been there before as a college student because I had done a study abroad my junior year in Florence, but I was very, poor college student. So eating on the cheap. So when I went back as an adult with a job and a salary, the food was much better. So we just ate such incredible food. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was the time I had pizza in Naples.
I've heard about the pizza in Naples. It's like the margherita pizza is it. That's it.
That's it. That's where pizza was invented. And the margherita pizza actually, it's got the red tomato sauce, the white mozzarella di bufala cheese, and then the little bits of green basil. And so red, white, and green are the colors of the Italian flag. So that pizza is really important in Italy. And so when we were in Naples, which is this really kind of gritty but vibrant city, our guidebook said this is the place to go. So we tried to find it, and it was way tucked away. So we had to walk down these little alleyways and down these dark corridors. We're like, where the hell are we? And we finally have it open up into this cobblestone little courtyard, and there's this restaurant, and we go in, and I ordered a margherita pizza, and it's cooked in the wood-fired oven, and it's all, they have all these rules and laws in Italy, the DOC, everything has to be according to these laws. And it came out, and it was the most amazing pizza I had ever had. I kept thinking it was like Plato's allegory of the cave, most person's in a cave and they just see the shadows of things on the cave wall. They're passing by the cave mouth, and they never see the real thing. So all my life I've been having these shadows of pizza, dominoes and all that stuff. And here I was finally turned around, and I was seeing the real perfect form of a pizza, and it was just divine.
Excellent. And that's what I was going to ask you, because I know that you have traveled through Europe, and does the food culture there in Europe, how did you find it to be so different than the food culture here in the United States?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to travel a lot in Europe when I was a student. So again, most of that time I was on a budget, staying in hostels, doing cheap eats. But dinner is usually, for just kind of day-to-day stuff, dinner is the smaller meal and lunch is the big meal, at least in Italy. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So at lunch we would have this giant carb fest, all this pasta, and then I'd have to go back to classes, and everyone would be nodding off. The teachers put the lights down. We're looking at the slides of Italian artwork, and I would be fighting so hard to stay awake. But in general, in the summer and on the weekends, it's really lively at night. And I remember one time I was in Spain, and we were going to go out clubbing, and so we went to bed and took an actual disco nap and got up at midnight to go out to the club. And when we left there, 3 or 4 in the morning, people were arriving. It was crazy. So they love to stay up late and be wild and fun in Europe, for sure.
Have you ever tried to recreate any of those dishes you had when you were studying here at home?
Yeah, I'm a so-so cook. There was this really great pasta recipe that I found on Bon Appetit, which honestly, those recipes are 2 levels above my skill level. And so I was trying to make this fancy pasta dish, and I had to make a bechamel sauce from scratch. and it boiled over.
Oh no.
And got everywhere. But we were about to remodel our house. So I knew that like in 2 days, they were gonna like tear out our kitchen. So I was actually making this monster batch so I could freeze a bunch of it for when we were like living in our basement and cooking off a little like toaster oven. So I didn't clean up the sauce because I'm like, no one's gonna use the stove and it's about to be thrown away, so I bother. Well, the next day, my husband cooked something and I didn't know, and he actually started a fire.
Wow. Good thing you were already remodeling.
It was a small fire, but yeah, that was not good. So usually if I want like really good Thai food, I have to go out to buy.
So today's like a day of coincidence because earlier I was talking to Sarah DeWild, and both of you have this European travel experience, and both of you have characters in your latest books who are chocolatiers.
Oh,
so your new book is My Sweet Enemy, and your heroine is a chocolatier. Was that a conscious choice, or did you learn about chocolate and went, I want to put that in a book?
I had this very specific moment. I had been at an Emerald City Writers Conference retreat, and I used to write historicals. And that was the year when all the agents and editors in the panel were like, historicals are dead, like no one's buying them. And I went home and I was like, oh. So after that conference, I was like taking a walk and I'm like, I need to pivot. Like I can keep writing these books and I was going to read, or I can figure out something else. So I was like, what do I like? Like, what would I want to write about? And so I decided I was going to write a contemporary rom-com because I had been reading like The Hating Game and, you know, all these great new books with illustrated covers that were so fun. I was like, well, okay, what else can I put in there? What do I really, really love? And I was like, I really love chocolate. So I need to add some chocolate in this book. So I decided to make it about like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory hating game mashup. So like an enemies to lovers with some kind of contest. And so my research for that was really fun because here where we live in the Pacific Northwest, there's some great chocolate shops. So I went to France and took a tour, and I went to Theo's, and I took also a class at Theo's, a truffle making class. And that was super, super awesome and delicious. And, you know, on these tours, you get to sample things and you get to like actually see into the factory. And it's really cool. At Theo's, it's a bean to bar factory. So they bring beans in themselves and process them. Like they have the conching and each step there. And so I got to learn all about that. And then at Fran's, you can see them like when they make the truffles, they have these boar's hair brushes, and they actually brush each truffle to make it shiny. And so seeing like the care that they put into each truffle was just amazing. And then I was there with my two sisters, and it was just us on the tour, and my sister had a baby. And so we were kind of at the end of the tour, just like eating chocolates and hanging out in the big lobby there. And Fran walked by. And she's like going up the stairs to her office, and she kind of looks down and sees this like adorable little baby. And we're like, hi. And, you know, I'm like dying inside because it's Fran of Fran's Chocolates. Like she made the chocolates for Barack Obama's White House tenure, like the salted caramels. So she sees the little baby and came back, walked down the stairs and came over and talked to us. And I'm like, hi. I'm trying not to scare her. I'm like, hi, I'm writing a book and I'm using your place's research. And I got a picture with her.
Nice.
I will have to send that to you. And
yes, please.
and it was just amazing. And so that was really, really special. So I think if anyone out there is wanting to write a book and they can't decide what setting, I would recommend a chocolate factory because the research and samples are wonderful.
What was the most surprising thing you found out about chocolate that was something you had not thought about?
There's a little bit of a gross part to chocolate, which I didn't know until I did my research. So the cocoa beans grow in these big pods, and when they harvest them, they open them, and the beans are in this like pulpy white fruit. They strip it out, and they let the beans and the fruit ferment for a month. Yeah, it just like sits there and is goopy and gross and like aged. And I guess if you think about all kinds of other things like wine and, you know, and beer, like there's fermenting and there's aging and stuff. So it's not that strange, but it really surprised me. And then they clean all the goop off and dry the beans and carry on. But that particular part was startling to me.
So what part of besides just regular chocolate, was there anything kind of oddball that you put into your backstory, into the story of your book to kind of go, oh, that's a great fact or little tidbit. I got to work that in somehow.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, since my person is a chocolatier, she's making chocolates, and there's this competition element to it. So there's 5 characters, and they're all competing as interns for a permanent job at the chocolate factory. So I did have to come up with what kind of competitions might they have. So some of them are like making food, and some of the characters know more about chocolate than others. So one of the side characters was a food scientist, and she was always wanting to make the chocolate healthy. So I'm trying to come up with these ideas. I mean, honestly, chocolate should not be healthy. It is an indulgence.
So the healthiest chocolate is the unsweetened chocolate, because that's pure cacao. And we all know, because as a kid, we've eaten the unsweetened chocolate, and it's poison. It's just, as soon as that smell hits your nose, you go, this isn't right. This isn't right. But that's healthy chocolate because it has the least amount of sugar in it and the most not antibodies, the free radicals, whatnot, antioxidants.
Yes.
So that's technically healthy chocolate, and it's terrible.
It's terrible. As soon as I remember like sneaking through the cupboard when my family was away and finding the baker's chocolate. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna sneak a treat, and then taking a bite and spitting it out because it's vile.
It is horrible. So now going forward in your books, are you going to like incorporate more little food elements into it? Or are you just like having that for that one time only experience and you're ready to move on?
So it's a planned series set at the chocolate factory. So some of the other side characters are going to be in it. So the one I'm working on right now is one of the characters who has this like social media reality TV background. And so her big thing is like posting about the chocolate and trying to come up with fun campaigns like name a baby cow from like the dairy where you get the milk to make the chocolate, and doing like inclusions in the ice cream with the chocolate. She ends up being a photographer and taking all these, running around the city and taking all these amazing pictures of ice cream cones with, the background of the city behind her. And so, yeah, I want to stay in the chocolate factory because it's so fun, and I love chocolate, and I think, the typical romance reader also has an affinity for sweets as well.
Excellent. That's great that you're going in and finding out this knowledge did not diminish your love for chocolate, which is great. Because I remember when I did culinary school and we had our chocolate quarter. At the end, I was getting a little sick of chocolate. I think it was mostly cleaning up the chocolate because a smidgen of melted chocolate gets everywhere, and I had bleach pens, Costco size. Every day I had to white out my. But
not know you'd gone to culinary school.
Yes, I did.
That's really cool.
I know. That's why I'm known as the baker in the family, and I used all that knowledge and put it in my cowboy books. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So one last question. So now that I've done like this time and research into chocolate, and when somebody asks an offhanded comment about something, do you find yourself going, I will tell you all about it. I will spit all my research at you that I've learned. Are you pretty good at keeping it to yourself?
I try not to. I took my family with me when I went on the tour. So, I tried to make it like a fun outing, and I try not to bore people because really chocolate should be just enjoyed, right? It is something that's fun and delicious, and it cheers you up and it helps you celebrate, and no one needs all the boring facts. So when I was writing, I did try to put, bits of that knowledge in it because they're part of the factory work. But I tried to sprinkle it lightly throughout.
So you didn't need a whole page.
No one needs the info dump.
When you're reading your book and you're like, oh, this is all the knowledge or all the research this author did on this one topic right here on this page. Good for you. And that's what's called great editing. That's a good editor. Excellent. Well, okay, so again, the newest book is My Sweet Enemy. It's out on all platforms, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. And we'll get all of your social media details so people can follow you.
Thank
you so much for joining me today.
I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for having me on. This has been a real treat.
Excellent.
Came up with that.
You got to use that more often. I want to thank Jenny Jenny again for joining me today, and all of the information about her book, My Sweet Enemy, is down in the description box below, as well as the links to her social media, so you can find her again for her future Chocolate Factory books, which sounds like a lot of fun. And while we were talking, next to my bookshelf, screaming at me, was my Fran Bigelow from Fran Chocolate's cookbook. This is expert level stuff here, y'all, but it's a beautiful book and lots of fun. So, oh, and thank you for joining me as well. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. That way you are notified when we have more videos load and hit the channel, which also helps us out with visibility as well. You can follow us on Instagram as well as Facebook, and don't forget the website dishaboutthedish.com. So subscribe, like, and again, we hope to see you again soon. Until next time, y'all.